Hey guys, Justin here from CBI Off-Road. Today we are working on a 2016 Z71 Colorado. We're gonna install our full ZR2 bumper on this Z71. You heard me right, we're doing a ZR2 bumper on a Z71 Colorado. Should be a good time, stay tuned. All right, so now we're gonna talk about the cut line. I've already kind of taped off the area and wrote down the measurements, but I'll just run through really quick what they are, and then we'll get you a close-up shot. So from the corner where these two meet, this line right here, we measured straight to the top of our cut line, and that's gonna be 2 3/4 inches. Our next point is right where this line meets the headlight, straight down is 7.5. And then on your headlight, you'll see some numbers. We have H11 is stamped into the headlight. So in line with H11 at the bottom of the headlight to the top of our cut line, 6 inches. And then of course the corner of the headlight where it meets the grill down is 5 inches. So that's the side. We'll get you a close up and then we'll move to the front. All right, so you can see we're lined up with H11, but we're on the bottom side of the headlight. So make sure you're not measuring up here, bring your tape down to the bottom, but staying in line with H11, and you'll be 6 inches to the top of your cut line. All right, so on the center section here, we kind of have an angle of the grill profile in the headlight. I'm gonna take a straight edge. We're gonna kind of hold it up flush on the edge of the headlight and hold that in place, and then we'll mark down here to get our slant down. So there's no other real way of clocking a good measurement. So I put our tape about 1/4 inch back from this line. So we'll end up sanding up to this, but of course we don't want to take off too much in the first cut. So get you a rough idea where you're gonna be and tape back about 1/4 inch from that line. So that's gonna be the step profile. Now, working across the middle here, we have 16 inches from the bottom of the hood to this point. In the center, right on the Chevy emblem, from the hood down, we got 15 3/4. And then of course 16 is gonna be the same on this side. And then as we wrap around this side of the vehicle, it's gonna be the exact same numbers we have on the driver's side. All right, so we got our cut laid out. Now we're just gonna remove these screws holding the fender liner in. They're a T15. We got 3 along the bottom side and 2 up this side. Once we get that, we'll reach in there, unplug our fog light, then it'll be cutting time. All right, so we got the cut done. We're underneath the vehicle. We just got a couple brackets that are holding it on. We try to keep those intact so that everything doesn't just come crashing down on us. So we have 7mm on each side, and we have 2 10mm that we'll need to take off. Then we'll be able to slide the bumper skin off. All right, so we're gonna take a couple brackets off while we have the vehicle in this spot. So we have this 10mm that's on the top side of that bracket you just removed to let the clip down. And then we have 2 18mm bolts on each tow hook. We're gonna go ahead and get those down, and then we'll start dissecting some more stuff up higher. All right, so now we're just gonna start working our way in, taking off components. So we have our crash bar. It's held on by 2 15mm bolts on each side. There's 2 clips on this plastic air dam that we need to remove first to allow, once these bolts are removed, this to come out. And then this plastic piece here we're gonna remove, and it's just clipped in. We'll show you that as we get closer. We'll just keep working our way in, removing parts right now. Okay, this plastic piece, it just clips out. We're not reusing it, so we can go a little bit of Hulk on it and just grab and take some aggression and rip it straight out. All right, so we're gonna keep moving along, taking pieces out of the vehicle. So these two plastic pieces, we'll use this flathead screwdriver to pry them out. This temperature sensor just pops out. Ultimately, we're gonna fish the wire back out and relocate this up higher in the grill. So we'll do that shortly. Once we get these out, we'll kind of show you where we're gonna cut to get this plastic removed, and just keep moving our way inward here. So we'll take this, and this just pries these little tabs right out. If you break these, it's not that big a deal. We're not gonna reuse it, so no worries there. Okay, so now we're gonna cut this piece so that we can get it out of the way. So right up here, kind of where this indentation is, we're gonna start there and go around. We'll get that piece, the middle piece, and then the right-hand side piece cut out so that we can remove that. In the center section, make sure you have your temperature sensor wire out of the way so you don't risk damaging that, but we'll go ahead and cut. All right, so this next piece, we have one plastic clip back here we'll have to remove. We're just gonna use a flathead screwdriver, and then these clips on the bottom, we'll have to kind of push up with the screwdriver to pop those out, and then we'll be removing this rubber piece right here. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and do a test fit and check our cut before we get everything sanded down. So if we take our factory bolts, just a quick pro tip here, we're gonna thread one in backwards. So it'll actually give us a stud for the bumper to sit on, so we're not trying to line it up with these holes. So I'll do this bolt on each side, and that'll give us a place to set the bumper, and then we'll thread these in and check our cut. All right, so as we keep kind of cleaning up here, we do have two more things we have to cut, one on each side. It's just this grill support. I've outlined it in Sharpie. We'll give you a close-up of that. We just need to cut this bottom section and then back, just so to allow the bumper to slide inward. All right, so we got our cut about finished up. We got to relocate this sensor, this temperature sensor. So we have our included bracket. There's a 10 millimeter bolt right here we're gonna remove. Slide this bracket in between the metal cross piece and this plastic. Line up the holes and re-secure that in place, and we'll just clip our temperature sensor into the bracket. Now we're gonna move on to cutting the inner fender liner. So you can see I've kind of marked this out. We just wanna be on this side of this structure right here with our line. So we'll go ahead and cut this with a razor knife and we'll start tucking it up in there. All right, so now we're gonna take our deburr tool, just kind of clean this edge up, prepping it for our trim lock that we're gonna install. Razor blade works just fine also. We're gonna kind of do this all the way around, then we'll come back and get our trim lock, and we'll be ready to put our bumper on. All right, so now we're gonna prep the bumper for installation now that we got our cut nice and dialed in. So we have our fog light brackets here. I've already mounted the fog light loosely to it. We can still twist it into place when we get it mounted. And then we also have our kind of design cover plate that goes in. So we'll get the cover plate in first, and then we'll use our carriage bolts to get the fog light on. All right, so we're gonna slide our bracket in from the back side here. We're gonna use our included hardware, the 4 smaller bolts and serrated flange nuts to get it secured in place. We're just gonna get them all hand tight until all of them are in, and then we'll tighten them using a 5/32 Allen. All right, so now we're gonna attach our fog lights. So I went ahead and mounted our light to the bracket. It just attaches in the slot here. And we'll get our carriage bolts in there, insert it through, washer and a lock nut. We'll get both of these started and then adjust the light. Once it's adjusted where we want it, then we'll come back and tighten it down with a 9/16 wrench. All right, so we got our fog light in on the other side. Process is the exact same as this one that we showed you here. If you're installing a winch or light bar, now's the time to do that. You'll want to get your light bar in first, then your winch. Stick with that and you'll be just fine. So now with all that prep done, we're ready to get it on the truck. All right, we got the bumper in place. You can do one of two things to help you get your alignment, to get your bolts started. You can run one of the 15mm bolts in backwards like we showed you earlier to give you a nice kind of stud to set the bumper on. Or you can use this factory ledge down here, set it on, and that'll get you kind of close. You'll just have to lift up each side just a little bit to get the bolts lined up. Definitely a 2-person job. Don't try to overachieve and get it done yourself. It's just a lot easier with 2 people. You can get it lined up, fine tune it all. And then we're gonna get everything started by hand, and then we'll come back and tighten it down with tools. All right guys, that sums up our install tutorial of the Z71 truck with the ZR2 front bumper. Hope you had a great time. As always, like, subscribe, leave us a comment below. Thanks for watching.